For many hundreds of years now, even thousands of years, human beings on this earth have willfully given up their self-determination and self-authority and have handed it over to, in many cases, imaginary figures and deities that have no firm basis in reality, or on the other hand, have given their power away to other human beings. There are so many human beings on this earth today that don't feel like they have control over their life, don't feel like they have control over their decisions. Many people believe that they have no free will and they can't determine their own path. Also, at the same time, there are countless people on earth who have a real passion, let's say, and a real striving towards dominating, exploiting, and controlling others. A real pathological desire to obtain and exercise might over others. This is very easy to recognize in the present time, especially when we look in the direction of the religions, the leaders who are supposed to be holy and wise and so on, which only lead people astray and demand financial exchange, demand their financial donations and so on from the people, and the gullible people, thinking that they'll somehow win God's favor, will then give over their possessions and their money and whatever else to win the favor of the deities and the gods and the priests and the popes and whatever else, in order to calm down their nattering thoughts, fearful nattering thoughts that they would be punished for all eternity if they didn't somehow believe this nonsense and give their power over to these psychopaths. We can also see this in the world of the authorities, the states, the governments, and the military, and in the workplace as well, actually, in the institutions. There's always people that are trying to exercise might over everybody else. This never sat with me well, and I always questioned it. Human beings need to realize that they have the power within themselves to determine their own lives, and no one has external authority over the individual and the decisions that the person makes, the life path that the person goes on, and so on. People who put themselves above you in an authoritative fashion and claim to have might over you are absolutely deluded and don't recognize the natural balance of the creation. No other life form in the natural world strives to dominate or exercise might over another life form. In the natural world, you don't get for example, the owl doesn't want to dominate over the robin or the ants or the bees or the eagle. There's no pathological craving for domination. There's each and every life form has a very specific function, characteristicum, and nature that it follows and abides in within the laws and recommendations of the creation and the natural world. Every life form willfully abides in and fits themselves into the natural laws and the natural order in such a way that it's fully free. There's no coercion in nature. The life forms just gravitate towards what they do naturally, and every life form fits in quite beautifully actually in a natural ecosystem. For example, when one looks at a coral reef system or a woodland ecosystem or a rainforest ecosystem, there are many thousands, if not millions, of different life forms when you look at the micro to the macro levels, existing within the same space, within the same um, the same area, and so on. And every single life form beautifully fits into the system with every other life form without creating a hierarchy or a imbalance or coercion. Of course, boundaries are set and so on and so forth. Like a nesting bird will give you a warning call if you get too close to its nest, but then you heed the warning call as a sign from nature and you keep your distance from the nest, while the mother bird then brings up the fledglings. This is just logical. There's no coercion there. Just a normal setting of a boundary. Now, human beings have long since forgotten this natural law, and there is a pathological craving for might over others on the one hand, and on the other hand, people are too willing to give up their autonomy and their freedom and just to basically pass over their responsibility to anyone who's willing to exercise might over them without thinking it through or considering the instructions from an external source. There is no value in just blindly accepting and following orders from the outside, from any other human being, without thoroughly thinking it through and making a decision on whether it's a positive or a negative value, whether it would create harm to yourself or harm to others or harm to the natural world. The human being should make their own decisions from within themselves, from a good, clear conscience, and that clear conscience and clear perception of reality is enough to determine whether something should be done or should not be done, whether something is right or wrong, whether something will harm yourself or others or nature, or whether it will promote the life of yourself and others and nature. When we live in accordance with the principle live and help live and do no harm, and we strive towards love and peace and friendship, humanity, harmony, cooperation, and our own evolution, then I think this is the way to live, and the way of a true human being. So for all people that resonate with this, the principles of the teaching that we learn in the teaching, to develop our own self-thinking, to learn to recognize our own free will and to exercise that free will within the bounds of the creational natural laws and directives and recommendations that we can see in nature, and then strive to become a good human being, true human being, live and help live. So with that being said, Salome.